Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest expansion-packed episode of the Switch It Up Show. I am your host today, Seth Trav. I am joined, as always, by our friend Glenn.
How are you doing this evening, Mr. Trav?
My guy, I am doing well because my fires were lit and your boy answered the call. He headed to the kingdom of Darius because Ravensword has descended into darkness. I played a wild Skyrim-ish RPG, and you know how your boy gets into that genre.
You do, my man. Then I saw that come through, and I was like, that is going to go right on over to my main man, Seth Trav.
But was I happy to play it? We'll have to find out, ladies and gentlemen, after we let these sweet, sweet beats ride. Anamanaguchi, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. They provide us with all the toss-it tones that we love over here on the Switch It Up Show. So, the first game that we're reviewing today is Ravensword Shadowlands. It's currently available on the Nintendo Switch. I played it on the PS5. It is also available on the PS4. It is currently $6.99 from our good friends over at Retaliaka Games. After the fall of Ravensword, the world descended into chaos. The kingdom of Tyrius stood alone against a sea of dark elven invaders. The Ravensword was lost, and the dark times began. As the descendant of an ancient line of kings, you alone have the power to wield the Ravensword again and restore that which was lost. Explore a vast and richly detailed world, gathering powerful weapons and items. Increase your skills and follow a deep storyline to solve the mysteries of the Kingdom of Tyrius. Seamlessly switch between first and third person view, with mastering different skills, making quest-altering and reputation-altering decisions. It features numerous options for character customization and completing quests. Battle various enemy types, including huge prehistoric creatures, decisions-based multi-part quests. Use various weapons like bows, axes, and swords. Reflexes and precision-based combat with blocking and dodging. It is available now, and again, it is from our good friends over at Retaliaka Games. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, you are immediately going to draw a comparison to something like Skyrim or much more likely Morrowind, which I believe is the one before Skyrim. Morrowind, I believe, was the Xbox one or the 360 one. Elder Scrolls 4, was that it? Elder Scrolls 4? My friend Glenn, do you have something to say about that?
Man, Morrowind, that's a blast from the past. I do believe that was on Xbox, but it was also originally on like PC.
It was on like Windows Millennium.
Bro, my
XP maybe?
My brother was way into that game. It was pretty in-depth.
A lot of people were into Morrowind. And if you liked Morrowind and you wanted sort of a nostalgia kick, you will probably really, really enjoy this game because it looks and plays a lot like Morrowind, except kind of clunkier and not necessarily as well done. If you've been a fan of the show for a good long time, and I hope you have been, you know we've played a lot of great games from Retaliaka Games. They are primarily a big indie publisher, and they do a lot more retro-style games, a lot of top-down shooters, a lot of roguelites. This, to me, seemed like a huge step for them towards becoming something more of like a AAA title. Like, I would expect to see this from maybe a Capcom or something like that, something out of a Microsoft studio, something out of a Sony. But this is, their attempt at making a Morrowind, and it's there. It does get that vibe, but I played it on the PS5, and graphically, it feels way too dated to me, and it feels clunky. But it feels clunky in a nostalgic way. I don't know if they meant to make it as nostalgic as it winds up feeling, but it feels like it is a point and click slasher on a PC. That's not necessarily a bad thing, But for me, I feel like it kind of was, because I've been experiencing further depth to my RPGs. The character creator is kind of really lax. The faces all look very, polygonal and pixelated. The music is okay, but the vocal acting in it, like, it honestly sounds like it was mixed poorly, or whatever recording studio they recorded it in wasn't actually soundproofed, because it sounds like there's a weird hollow echo. I thought it might have been me being on the 3D headphones and that was doing it, but I just turned the volume up on my TV to make sure I could hear their voices, and the same thing was there. And I don't know what that is. I don't know what is making that happen, other than I feel like it's got to just be poorly done. I'm sorry to say it. I think it was just poorly done vocal capturing. The vocal acting itself, it's pretty good. Like, the characters are pretty lively, and you do make some decision-based things. I did quite a few, and I feel like my reputation went in the heroic route, as I typically do on my first playthroughs. But overall, the game is very clunky. I saw so many times where enemies just sort of glitched around or wound up like just floating over and on top of things. And for me, it's funny. Like, I find a lot of glitchy things like that kind of kitsch and humorous. But like, if I paid money for this, I'm pretty sure I'd be upset with how spotty it was. So I definitely give you guys an A for the effort. Definitely do that, because like, it looks like it should be a good Morrowind style RPG. Unfortunately, it falls short in almost every category. So because of that, I am going to give Ravensword Shadowlands a 2 out of 5.
Well, obviously a little bit on the lower of the scale in terms of score, but you do not give out a low score with without good consideration. Like, that's I haven't heard you say 2 on this show, and I couldn't tell you how long.
Yeah, I think there was only one time I gave out a 1, maybe 2 times, but 2, It's very like, and I feel like with the games that are worse, there's a lot more to say about them. If this was a longer review from me, it's because I wasn't just like, well, this was great fun.
Sometimes it's easier to be a little more like, critical of a game, give a
bigger critique on a harder play.
Unless you absolutely fall like in love with something, in which case then I feel like maybe it's a little bit easier to like, ramble on and on about it. But my game, BodyQuest, I'm kind of like an in-between on it. But let me go ahead and hit you with the synopsis here. And buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, because this is quite a long one.
As you adjust your glasses.
I had to adjust my glasses for this, okay? Like, you need to. It has to be done, because there is a lot here. I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, how can I read this in such a way where I don't repeat myself 1,000 times? But I'll do my best. Wow, this game is cheaper than I thought. BodyQuest is available on the Nintendo Switch right now. It is $5.99 on the eShop. You're eligible for up to 30 gold coins when you purchase it. It is an educational video game for kids. Improve your knowledge of the human body and its systems, the musculoskeletal, the circulatory, the respiratory, and more. A mysterious virus from outer space is threatening mankind, and your best friend Finn is the very first patient infected. But not everything is lost, as the young team of scientists led by Max, Jin, Leah, and Zev are here to help. Using their cutting-edge nanobots technology, they will be able to get themselves into Finn's body and combat the virus and its destruction all along Finn's organs to save his life, and at the same time, also the future of humanity. Hold on to the nanoscape to slide through the human body systems and save Finn, but remember, you will need to get the nanobot's solution to heal him. Get them by solving fun science challenges across the body systems. Overcome them to save your best friend and the world. Every body system is an adventure. Have fun with over 25 levels and negotiate all kinds of obstacles in order to get the disc that unlocks the nanobot's solution. It will be a real adventure. You'll have to deal with viruses, giant rolling stones, sticky walls, typhoons, puzzle games, toxic smoke, and it will surprise you. You can upgrade your skills, improve your knowledge of the human body to unlock new forms and skills for your nano tool, a vacuum express, a laser scalpel, an extinguisher, and more. Use them all to overcome all the dangers that await inside the human body and build the cure. I'm really getting into this set drop because I'm trying to make some type of reaction across your face, but you are like stone cold 316 as they come right now.
I was trying to think of the best way to compare it to Osmosis Jones. I was working on my joke.
The game itself kind of reminds me of that ride in Disney World, Body Wars. I don't know if you remember that one.
I feel like I do.
It was in Epcot, and you would basically be shrunk down into this ship, and you had to fight your way through like a disease.
Did they turn it into the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids ride?
I believe they turned it into The Land with Ellen. It's actually a pretty good ride. You go through like all these like hydroponic like plant areas, and like, you know, where they grow stuff. Ponic. Water
Is it
plants.
ponic?
It's hydroponic.
I thought it was phonic.
That's speech.
Hooked on phonics.
There we go. So let's get back to the synopsis. This game features educational content. Now, what they do, I'm going to try not to like say the same thing 1,000 times here, is they break it down. You get to put in your age when you play this game, and they have it kind of designed for people from age 6 to 7, 8 to 9, and 10 to adult. And what they do is they basically have the same type of categories. It's the musculoskeletal system. I guess that's the muscles in the skeleton. The nervous system, the digestive system, the respiratory system, and the circulatory system. I had to say those fast to make up for the fact that I stumbled over the first one. And those are the categories. So ages 6 to 7, they focus on the main elements of these different systems, the most important, like bones and muscles, the difference between what bones and muscles are, the basic organs, kind of like how the organs interplay with the senses. For the digestive system, they talk about healthy eating and different foods and like the sense of taste. And then for the respiratory system, they're talking about the difference between inspiration and expiration, healthy habits, and then they talk about some of the main organs in the circulatory system. And basically what they do is from ages 6 to 7, and then when you move into the 8 to 9, they get a little bit more detailed. Well, the vocabulary steps up a little bit more. They make it like a little more age appropriate and like how they're referencing these organs and what they do. And the same thing again for 10 to adult. And then that's basically what they're doing is they're using these words. It's like they're teaching you a lesson as you play the game. And it's almost not quite like a side-scrolling type game, but if you've ever played, since this is Nintendo Switch, so if you've ever played Toad's Treasure Tracker, it's also, if you haven't played that, there are some Toad levels in the Super Mario 3D World where you play as Toad. And you have to like kind of move around this like plane that is like almost like 2.5D. You know, it's like shot from above, but on the side, so it looks like there's some depth to it. All the levels are kind of like that type of plane. And you're going through different areas in the body, learning about these different categories. You're on this essentially skateboard, and you can get different type of like weapons, such as like a laser scalpel, to fight different like viruses while you're in the level. And while you're there, you're going through and you're collecting, whether it be like blood cells or like different parts of the virus that you're trying to eradicate. You're fighting like different like body enemies as you're in there. And as you go through, you unlock different checkpoints in case you die. And then you're using your weapons to be able to make it to the next part to like solve basically like a riddle or a question based on these categories of the body. And then after that, you're just kind of going through each level and doing the same. So it's a little bit of like, it's not quite platforming. It's not quite like a shoot 'em up game. You ever played Robotron on Nintendo 64? Kind of like that type of like combat, like top down with like a little bit of depth to it. 2.5 I guess is what it would be. So it's an educational type like quiz game. It's kind of like a throwback to some of those games that maybe we played back when you had computer class in elementary school, something like Operation Neptune or
Adventure Mountain.
Oh man, Adventure Mountain, dude.
You're talking about it. Like, it sounds like Adventure Mountain,
Treasure Mountain,
Grossology.
Yeah, those were
like I had this thing back on Windows 95 called Grossology, and it sounds like the exact same sort of thing where you play these games and you learn about the digestive system and like how you pee and stuff.
Yeah.
Grossology obviously had like a gross bent on it and presented it very humorously. It was like,
But
this is how boogers are made. Pick the nose and learn something.
But you
And
were
I'm like,
still
okay,
learning.
cool. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the nose picking thing was like bubble bobble. Yeah, the pee thing was like connect the tubes, and if you don't connect them all, the bladder will explode.
Gross.
Yeah, exactly. Grossology.
Yeah. But this game, BodyQuest, $5.99, and it's very much an educational game. That's its main point. And of course, the main character's name is Max. So I was like, yes. I think he's definitely he would definitely enjoy this. It's for, they say, like, 6 and above. Essentially, it's one player. They categorize it as action, adventure, education, platformer, puzzle. A little bit of everything, and you can play this in TV, tabletop, or handheld mode. I think it's cool how they adjust the vocabulary so it's appropriate for each age. And one thing that I'm starting to notice now, as Max is starting to like take more of an active role in actually playing some of the games as opposed to like watching me, or maybe having like a job to hit like a button or something like that, is how the controls work. And the cool thing about this is that it kind of uses a little bit of everything. You have to use the stick in order to do the movement, and then you have to press some of the buttons in order to do the shooting, and you have to move the character and to touch these portals to get your checkpoint, and you have to like approach some, like you have to do some things where you're building a bridge with your laser, so that you can traverse over different parts of the body. And it's just what I noticed in this game, at least from that perspective, as like watching somebody who's new to video games. It's like they're showing you that, like, okay, you have to go over here to get, like, this is what a checkpoint is. This is where you, like, there's a gap, so you have to like hold down a button. This is where you have to press a button repeatedly to shoot enemies. It's like some of those like basic gaming like skills. I feel like this game walks you through it while it's teaching you about some of the other stuff. So I feel like they nailed that like kind of age range like well, for like some of the beginning ages, because I'm looking for games that are like a little bit like simpler, and also kind of get him accustomed to using a controller, because that's weird. Like, I don't know how to, like, at first I gave him the Joy-Con and he was like kind of struggling with that, and I was like, try the Pro Controller, and he's good with the Pro Controller, and I never would have thought to give him that. But I guess maybe the bigger buttons are easier for smaller hands, but I thought that like by
you'd think it'd be harder.
Think it would be harder, but apparently
right?
not.
You gotta have the dexterity.
Yeah, apparently not. So, but I mean, I like BodyQuest for that, but it's a cool educational game, and if you're trying to like kind of get like a younger kid more accustomed to actually playing a game, I feel like you can definitely do worse. I feel like they could do a good job of ramping that up. It is $5.99. That's cheap. There's a good amount of game here. I think it's fun and educational. So I like BodyQuest. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 4 out of 5.
We run the gambit today, ladies and gentlemen, of scores, as it happens sometimes on the Switch It Up show. But, it's good that we can give you that variety. As the title suggests, we do switch it up. For everyone here, I have been at Seth Trav. He has been our friend Glenn. Together we are at Switch It Up Show on the Twitter. You can find us at Preach Network, at PreachCast on Instagram, on Twitter, and all over the place. And I gotta remind everybody that if any of this got boring, you could always switch it up.